Citizen science, also known as public or community participation and engagement, has emerged as a vital tool in shaping effective and responsive policy. It empowers individuals to contribute to scientific research and data collection and provides valuable insights that can guide decision-making processes. Citizen science drives research and innovation forward and bridges the gap between researchers and the community. It fosters collaboration, allowing policymakers to understand public concerns and incorporate community-driven data into their strategies.
We wrote this paper for several reasons. Part of it was there's been, over the last few years, an increasing interest from the countries that we work with in relation to citizen science, but also very much by what we saw during COVID-19, when citizens were critical to the scientific collection of information and data, and also things like long COVID were identified by citizen science. I think there are three main rationales. So one is simply to make science more efficient and effective, so to help the discovery process. The second is really about addressing some of the big socioeconomic challenges that we have, but perhaps the most important is about the democratization of science and the role of science in society.
Simon Rushton in the UK and Juan Mario Diaz Arevalo from Colombia led the Improbable Dialogues project, which played a leading role in developing a strategy for peace and coexistence in Colombia's Buenaventura.
Buenaventura is Colombia's main Pacific port, handling much of the nation's coffee as well as sugar and cotton from the Cauca River Valley. There are high levels of violence and drug trafficking, as well as tensions between the operators of the port, who want to expand it, and local Afro-Colombian communities who will be displaced by this expansion.
Building on our long relationship with our local partner Cormepas, we facilitated a series of dialogues bringing different groups in the city together to create a roadmap towards a more peaceful future.
The strategy for peace was formally adopted by the municipal council, and the mayor created an office for peace and coexistence programs, with a mandate to urgently address the high levels of violence, murder, and criminality in the city.
Following the principles of participatory action research, the project has facilitated opportunities for people to self-research and for local capacity building. The implementation of a large-scale and ongoing training program for local people in capacities and skills for the promotion of peace is an example.
The overall model of development in Colombia has been very top-down, very much based on things like extractive economies, mining, oil exploration, etc. Whereas there's a real demand from these communities to actually be able to build something themselves from the bottom up. So for me, this citizen science approach has been really important in handing over to communities the tools to allow them to set the research agenda and allow them to pursue impact as a result of their research, but in a way that is supported by and draws upon the expertise that we have available within academia.
Another example of citizen science in action is the work of Professor Jeremy Kerr from the University of Ottawa in Canada. In the midst of a catastrophic crash in biodiversity across the planet, he set up ebutterfly.org, an online, citizen-driven science project that maps and tracks millions of butterflies.
So eButterfly began in Canada only. It expanded to the United States and then across into Central America, and now it is a global project. Things that have been especially exciting to emerge from this has been, in particular, the understanding that not only are species beginning to move around because climatic changes are altering environmental suitabilities for those species, but also, very important scientifically, we can actually predict where and how fast that's happening. And this means that policymakers can pivot when something is going wrong. Democratizing data collection is probably one of our absolute most effective ways for people to begin to recover their faith in evidence-based decision-making. And the reason for this is that it is the citizens themselves who are assembling that evidence.
We want policymakers to get really excited about citizen science because it really does, and it really can, help shape and improve the policies that they're making and actually ensure that they're serving the communities that they're being designed for appropriately.
What we're hoping here is that this report can serve as a kind of roadmap for funding agencies within the nations of the world, for policymakers making citizen science an everyday part of every nation's scientific data collection and scientific analyses also.